Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something called the sprint. You've probably heard of it. It's pretty legendary now, especially in the startup scene.
Right, but it's got uses way beyond just startups.
Absolutely. Forget those endless meeting cycles. This is different. It's a really focused 5-day process, originally from Google Ventures.
Yep.
And the whole point is to, well, laser focus on a big business question, build a quick prototype, and actually get it in front of real customers, all in 1 week.
It basically compresses like months of back and forth into 5 days. It's pretty powerful stuff.
And where did it even come from? It wasn't just some top-down mandate, right?
No, not at all. It actually bubbled up from people noticing what really worked on the ground. There's this great story about an engineer pretty early on.
Okay.
He basically just asked, a really simple question. How do we actually know that our usual brainstorming sessions, how do we know they consistently give us good ideas?
That's a brave question to ask sometimes.
It really is. But it sparked this realization that, well, maybe those big free-for-all brainstorms weren't the only way, or even the best way. Sometimes the best ideas come from, more structured individual work first, then bringing it together.
Right. Those sessions can feel productive, loads of energy, but yeah, the real breakthroughs might need something else, a different kind of structure.
And that's kind of where the sprint methodology started to form.
So for this deep dive, we're really going to zero in on those first crucial steps. How do you even start? How do you define the problem properly?
Exactly. Laying that groundwork is everything.
You mentioned startups, but it's broader, like Savioki Labs, John Zeratsky's example.
Yeah, Savioki, when he first saw them, it was that classic startup picture, circuit boards, 3D printers going.
Tangible stuff. Building delivery robots?
Right, a very physical product, a physical problem.
Yeah.
But what's cool about the sprint is how flexible it is.
Yeah.
I mean, huge companies, really established ones like
Graco. They make those massive industrial pumps, right?
The very same. Even they use this exact 5-day sprint process to tackle some really complex, maybe less physical challenges. So it's adaptable.
Okay, so let's get into day one then. Understanding the challenge. Where do you begin?
You start with the end in mind, setting the long-term goal.
Okay,
Well, think about the Apollo 13 mission. Total crisis, right. But Mission Control had one crystal clear objective above everything else.
Get the astronauts home. Safe.
Precisely. Every single decision, every wild idea they came up with, it all served that goal. That's your North Star for the sprint week.
Got it. That makes sense. So you have the big goal, then what?
Then you start listing out your sprint questions. This is where the team really digs into the unknowns. What are we assuming? Where could this whole thing fall apart?
Ah, okay. So you're deliberately looking for the tricky parts.
You have to. Prompts like, what questions must we answer this week? Or to actually hit that long-term goal, what has to be true? They force you to confront the uncertainties.
It's almost like a pre-mortem, right? That idea of imagining failure.
Exactly. Asking, okay, fast forward a year. This project failed spectacularly. What might have caused that? It sounds negative, but it surfaces risks you might otherwise ignore.
Yeah, you get those uncomfortable truths out early, like the Blue Bottle Coffee example.
Yeah, that's a good one. They're known for amazing in-store coffee expertise.
Totally.
Yeah.
The whole barista experience.
But their big question was, how on earth do we translate that feeling, that expertise, online? They knew it was a gap. A big one. So that became a key sprint question for them.
Okay, so you've got your goal, you've got these critical questions. What's next? Mapping.
Mapping the problem, yeah. But keep it simple. This isn't about like some incredibly detailed process flowchart that takes hours.
No.
No, think high level. What's the basic customer journey? What are the major steps involved in the problem you're trying to solve?
Like the Flatiron Health example, they were trying to fix clinical trial enrollment, which sounds super complex.
Hugely complex, but their feast map was really straightforward. It just showed the key people, patient, doctor, research coordinator, and the main actions. Scheduling, searching for trials, the appointment, enrollment, treatment, boom.
Simple. So list the actors, define the endpoint.
That's pretty much it to start. Actors on the left, desired ending on the right. For Savioks, the robot delivers the thing, guest is happy. For Blue Bottle, customer buys coffee online. Successfully.
It creates that shared picture, doesn't it? Everyone's looking at the same basic map.
Exactly. And building right on that shared map comes the Ask the Experts phase.
Okay, so interviewing people.
Yeah, short, focused interviews. Individually. With different people from the team, maybe even some outsiders if needed. You're trying to pull together all the different perspectives and bits of knowledge.
And this is where you find out the CEO doesn't know everything.
Huh. Pretty often, yeah. It's a key learning. That crucial information is usually spread out across the team. The people actually doing the work, dealing with the customers, they know things others don't.
Makes total sense. The person on the front line sees the real friction points.
Right. So when you pick your experts, think about who sees different parts of that map you just drew. Who deals with the patient? Who handles the scheduling? Who understands the tech?
And it's not like a formal presentation they need to prepare.
Oh, God, no. Definitely not. It's a conversation. You walk them through the map, you talk about the sprint questions, you ask them about the challenges they see.
Like with Flatiron Health again, interviewing Bobby.
Yes, Bobby. He knew the nitty-gritty of matching patients to trials. I mean, he literally showed up with this, like, 3-page printout, 54 different criteria just to see if one patient matched one trial.
Wow, 54.
Yeah, it just instantly showed the team the sheer complexity they were up against. That's the gold you're digging for in those interviews.
Okay, so these interviews surface a lot of problems, pain points. What do you do with those? Just list them.
Well, you capture them, but then there's a really clever step. You reframe them using how might we questions.
How might we?
Yeah. So instead of saying, ugh, finding the screening info is impossible, like Bobby's problem,
Right.
you turn it into, how might we make this critical screening info easily accessible when it's needed? See the shift.
Yeah, it flips it from a complaint into, like, a challenge or an opportunity.
Exactly. It's a mindset shift. Problem becomes potential solution. It's really powerful for creativity.
So you end up with a bunch of these how might we notes.
Loads of them, usually on sticky notes. And then you need to figure out which ones are most important. So you vote. Dot voting.
Ah, the sticky dots. Classic.
Classic for a reason. Everyone gets, say, 3 or 4 dots, maybe more. And you just put them on the how might we notes that you think are the most critical or most promising. Quick, visual, democratic.
And you start to see clusters, right? Where the energy is.
Yeah, the heat map becomes obvious pretty fast. And that helps lead you to the really crucial decision for day 1, choosing the target for the sprint.
Okay, the target. This isn't solving everything at once then.
Yeah, definitely not. You got to focus. You pick the most important customer or type of customer and one specific critical moment in their experience on that map. That's your target area.
Like Savioki choosing the hotel guest receiving the delivery, not the robot's navigation or whatever.
Right. They figured that interaction, the guest moment, was the highest risk but also the biggest opportunity, make or break.
And Flatiron Health targeted the research coordinator searching for trials.
Yep. Because they realized that person was the key gatekeeper. If searching for trials was too hard for them, nothing else mattered.
So the team decides this target. Or is there one person?
There's usually a designated decider, someone with the authority to make the final call. But they might use a quick straw poll first just to get a sense of the room before they choose the target.
And ideally, the sprint questions you listed earlier should kind of point towards this target area.
They should align, absolutely. Like Flatiron's question about whether clinics would change workflows lined up perfectly with targeting the coordinator who does those workflows. It all needs to connect.
Okay, this is a lot of structured activity.
Yep.
It feels like you'd need someone keeping it all moving.
Oh, 100%. The facilitator role is critical. They're like the conductor of the orchestra for the week.
Not necessarily the boss.
Often better if they're not the boss. Just someone good at guiding groups, keeping things on track, making sure everyone's heard.
What makes a good facilitator in this context?
Well, a few things. Asking permission to facilitate at the start sets the tone. Constantly capturing notes on the whiteboards, always be capturing so everyone sees the shared thinking.
Okay.
Asking those simple, maybe obvious why questions to make sure assumptions are checked. Managing the team's energy, knowing when to push, when to take a break. And crucially, making sure decisions actually get made so you don't get stuck.
Right, keeping the momentum.
Yeah.
And the physical space matters too, doesn't it?
Hugely. You absolutely need a dedicated room for the whole week. Can't be dipping in and out.
Like a war room?
Kind of,
Yeah.
yeah. And you need whiteboards. Lots of whiteboard space. At least 2 big ones. They become the collective brain.
Plus the essentials. Sticky notes, markers.
Yep. Pens, paper, and time timers. Those are surprisingly important.
Time timers. Those visual clock thing.
Exactly, the ones with the red disc that disappears. They were actually invented by a woman named Jan Rogers for her daughter, Loran, who had trouble grasping, abstract time.
Huh, interesting.
But they work brilliantly in sprints. You set one for, say, 10 minutes of sketching or an hour of expert interviews, and everyone can see the time ticking away. It creates this, focused urgency. Much better than just a phone timer buzzing.
Yeah, it's a shared visual cue. No mental math needed.
Right. And speaking of phones, big rule. No devices in the sprint room, laptops closed, phones away.
Maximize focus, minimize distraction.
Totally. But importantly, you also tell people, look, if you absolutely have to check email or take a call, just step outside. Having that escape hatch makes people more willing to commit to being fully present in the room.
Right, it's not a prison. It's about focused work time.
Exactly. The structure, the environment, the no device rule,
Hmm.
it all works together to free up a huge amount of collective attention.
Okay, so let's quickly recap that first foundational day. You start with the big picture, the long-term goal.
Your North Star.
Then you brainstorm and really nail down the critical sprint questions, the things you need to answer.
Confronting the risks and assumptions.
You create a simple map of the problem space, the customer journey.
High level, actors, and ending.
You talk to your experts, gather that distributed knowledge,
Uncover those hidden complexities.
reframe the problems you hear into how might we opportunities.
Yep, shifting to solution mode.
Use dot voting to prioritize those opportunities.
Find the heat.
And finally, the decider chooses a specific target, one customer, one key moment on the map.
That's your laser focus for the rest of the week.
Wow. Okay. So all of that, it sounds like a lot, but it really sets the stage, doesn't it?
It's absolutely fundamental. Without that clarity and shared understanding from day one, the rest of the sprint, the sketching, the deciding, the prototyping, the testing, it just won't be as effective.
You need that solid foundation.
You really do. It channels all the creative energy that comes next.
So it really transforms potentially huge, messy problems into something manageable, something you can actually tackle in a focused way.
Yeah, by breaking it down, focusing relentlessly, and using that time pressure constructively, it makes you wonder,
What's that?
Well, it makes you think about how you could apply just those day one principles, that goal setting, mapping, targeted questioning to challenges in your own work, even outside a full sprint week. What problem are you facing right now? Or maybe just getting that initial clarity, mapping it out simply could make a real difference.